That's great. It's pretty good.
I saw your family photos
Oh,
on Facebook. They look so cool. The kids look so good.
Yeah, Oliver had the way with that. She did a good job. It's funny because Mara smiles all the time. Like, it's on the second. But she's not one smile. It makes pictures. I was good. How old are you, kid? 18 in September. Mara, 8 months yesterday. 5:30, we'll call to order this meeting of the Williston Basin School District. School District number 7, please rise for pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All of you call the roll.
Wheeler. Here. Marsh.
Here.
Sluter. Here. Brenner.
Here.
Kilgore. Kilgore. Johnson.
Here.
Swint.
Here, we have a quorum, we will proceed. Moving on to mission, vision, and beliefs. Our mission is to inspire and prepare students for the next level of education, work, and life. Our vision is to foster student growth and build trusting partnerships between students, staff, family, and community. And education at WVSD 7 will support our students' intellectual, social, and emotional growth. We will provide students with an innovative curriculum supported by various co-curricular activities. The outcome of our efforts will empower students to make a difference in their community and world. We believe in providing a safe environment where healthy relationships and student growth are priorities. Moving on to item 2, adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moving on to item number 3, showcasing schools today, Lewis and Clark school presentation.
Also, I have to stand here.
Yep.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm Meredith Johnson, principal at Lewis and Clark Elementary. This is my 12th year there, so it's been a while and it was nice to start off running. Just a quick little about our school. We have pre-K through 4th grade. We have the 2 best in classes, so we have 275 students and I have approximately 42 staff. We can start. So to show what we do through our growth, we use student data, BAR method, our master schedule, which allows for PLC time and BAR meeting time, WIN, which is what I need now, / our intervention groups, our PLC times, which is dedicated to looking at student data and making changes on our intervention group stuff with that data, and our engagement lab. I'm gonna click on that. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it. We just finished up our fall benchmark. So if you click on the little right there, it should pull it up. Hopefully. Were you guys able to open the link when you got it? Okay, good. So you've seen it. Okay. It's okay if you can get it open. That's just what we use to look at this initial quick snapshot of where kids are at. And then we take that and make intervention groups and just kind of constantly looking at those as we do the benchmarks 3 times a year. So that'll be a continual thing throughout our year, as well as the NDA plus interims, but we haven't done those yet. Go ahead and go to the next one if you can't. BAR, I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about that the last couple of years. Our staff has really embraced that. We actually love it. Last year was our first year implementing and it was definitely a lot of work, a lot of bits and pieces and parts that I always say my staff is a bunch of overachievers because instead of just doing a year 1 and let's dig our feet in a little bit and see how this goes, they were like, okay, we love this part. We want the next. So we just jumped in with all of it. And at times it was a little stressful making sure we had everything in there, but it looks at all students, not just our struggling students. So we're constantly talking kids that are doing well, what do they need, what are we missing, what can we do to enhance their school experience, as well as giving those bumps to what they need. And then, of course, our students that might be struggling emotionally or academically, to just to make sure we don't miss anyone and no one can fall through the cracks. I did put a link to the bar center. This was taken directly from the bar website. And then we utilize U time, which are those classroom lessons where teachers really get to know their students and they can see them outside of just the academic part. There's a lot of social building with that, team building, classroom family building. Small block is where the teams in their PLCs look at, the grade level teams look at which students are needing a little more attention, where do they need to go next. And then from those small block meetings with the team, we move into the big block meetings, which is we have a school team made up of myself, our counselor, grade level teachers, special education teachers. It's just a whole team wraparound. And then we look at, okay, we've come here, we've identified some things we want to look at more closely. What resources do we need? What can we do? Who can provide an intervention? Who can grab a kid for a break, whatever they need. And then from that, the referrals would be to Community Connect, and that's my counselor, myself, and then it was our school nurse. And then if we need to reach out to the resource officer, we can do that too. And it's just like, we've looked at everything in the school. What now do we need to use as a resource outside of the school? So we really have loved our time. We've already hit the ground running with it. We do little postcards for the kids just to say, hey, we see you, we love this about you. And that's something that seems to be very popular with our kids, that they love and like to be recognized. And we keep track of all of that on a sheet so that we don't miss any kids and that each kid gets something throughout the year. So that it's just really something our school has loved. I can't say enough good things about it. WIN kind of flows from that bar process, the PLC process, it all is kind of intertwined. We look at all of that and base, what do they need now? So do they need, some of our groups that we have are groups that you can excel at and that you're doing a novel study or things like that. And then we also have social skills groups of kiddos that are really struggling emotionally, but it all comes from that bar process into these intervention groups. And they could be academic groups as kind of what the kids need now. And then we are constantly adjusting that based on our data. This is just a little bit more about our professional learning communities, what they are, in case someone doesn't know. Those are the big ideas of what the focus is. And then our questions. What do we want our students to learn? How will we know if they're learning it? What will we do if they're not learning? And what will we do if they already know it? And that kind of just, it all just feeds together. So this is our little gem at Lewis and Clark a few years ago. We used some ESSER funds to bring the first Get Your Teach On lab to our school. And then it's just continued to grow. And so we transformed the room into, right now it's Pac-Man. That's a current picture from last week. And it's like an immersive, I don't know, 3D kind of thing. We have sound, we have music, we even have a little diffuser. We can add scents to make it feel. We did Jurassic Park, and so there was kind of a rainforesty kind of smell in there with it. So it's just an immersive experience. And then teachers can do lessons, they can enhance, they can extend. We've also used our speech teacher goes in there with her speech students. And so it's just a all-inclusive place for our kids to go, and staff loves it too. These are some of our themes this year. And then as we go, we had a parent reach out to us and say, hey, would you take suggestions for some themes? And so that's something new I think we're going to look at a little bit too. But first grade, fourth grade, third grade, kindergarten, and second grade, they're each responsible each month to decorate, get it all set up and ready to go. And then, of course, whatever creative themes come after that, we'll add. So our engagement lab is used for lots of things: academic, social, emotional, school, community-related events. Students love the lab, teachers love the lab. Our behavior issues are like 0 in there because we have very strict rules on what you need to do there, how you need to act, how you need to behave. And kids just rise to the occasion. Standards are embedded into the teacher's lessons in the lab, and it's used consistently. We have an online calendar that teachers can sign up to use the space, and it just works really well to schedule those times. These are some of our room transformations that kind of go with that in our Rock Your School. We did this is an old one at Camp Lewis and Clark, and then there's the Disney theme we did. I'm trying to think of what our theme is for September. It's not coming to me off the top of my, but we have a Rock Your School event coming up, and it just, our whole school participates. And these are some of the things that go with that, kind of like the lab. Student engagement gives students opportunities to explore and learn in new ways. It empowers teachers to create rigorous lessons, creates the best day ever, kind of like our Readers Guild Day. This is right up there in our kids' core memories. Sparks interest in potential career fields. That was a hospital day that third grade did. And it gives the opportunity for our community specialists to come and share in their talents. So we invite people in to come and talk about what they do as jobs and just give that experience to our kids. Is that my last one? Okay, I did add an end slide so we knew, but our motto at Lewis and Clark is be respectful, be responsible, be safe. And that's really what we live and breathe every day and what we talk with our kids about every day, and just they do rise to that. And we've had a lot of new students this year. We've had quite a few return from homeschool, which we're enjoying getting to know those students, as well as our other new families that have moved to the community. So yeah, we've started off running. That's it. I welcome any questions you guys have. I do have our strategy map here for Cognia. I didn't include that, but it's on the ND Insights website. If you guys have access to that, you can always look at it. I'll just tell you some of our key things on there: academic focus, on progress. And like Dr. Germanson said, we're all on the same path and we're following that path with our pillars. And so we have that strategy map, and that's what we reference and work on and revisit as well. So excuse me, we have academic focus, school culture, and innovation. So, and you can, if you have a chance to go there, you can check out what we're working on and what our goals are for this year too. So.
Board members, any questions?
Just thank you.
Yeah.
You always do a nice presentation. It's always a great thing. It's nice.
Well, Mr. Clausen does put a lot of pressure on us all the time. So I'm like, trying to go fast, but not too fast.
No, your energy is definitely.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I love our school and I love what I do. So thank you for letting us be here.
Are you fully staffed as far as teachers go?
Yeah, well, yes, we have one long-term sub. We are, but otherwise pretty fully staffed, and been very fortunate. A lot of our teachers are local to Williston, have come back. And so we've had a pretty stable school team and have really been able to literally hit the ground running again this year. So yeah, it's been very good.
Board members?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on to item number 4, communicating with the public. Okay. Public participation at board meetings is governed by district policy, BCBA. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools, and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in the public. It is the policy of this board to afford the opportunity in accordance with following procedures and North Dakota Century Code 44-04-20.1. Only items on the published board agenda or on the previous meeting's published agenda will be discussed at any meeting of the board unless the superintendent or a board member requests an addition to the agenda of a regular meeting and the board members present approve in accordance with board policy. No individual may speak more than once. Please state your name for the record. State the agenda item you are speaking to. Comments will be limited to no more than 3 minutes per individual. Public comment will be limited to no more than 30 minutes in total. The board has adopted policies governing paid training complaints. The public is required to seek redress through these policies. The public will be prevented from commenting on a topic if it is governed by a district complaint policy and the complainant has not followed the procedure contained in policy and/or the policy prohibits the public from bringing the complaint before the board. Concerns a topic that is prohibited by law from disclosure to the public, such as a student's educational record. Undue interruption or other interference with the orderly conduct of a board business cannot be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. The presiding officer may terminate the speaker's privilege to address if, after being called to order, he persists in improper conduct or remarks. Furthermore, any individual who is persistently disruptive of a school board meeting may be removed from the meeting by order of the presiding officer. Board members will not engage in dialogue during the public comment period. Questions may be answered by the presiding officer or an administrator at the following meeting or in writing at a later time. If you wish to provide any public comment this evening, please step forward to the podium, announce your name for the record, as well as the agenda item you are speaking on this evening. Is there any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, we will move on to item 5A, land swap update.
Okay. All right, so we are in conversation and discussions about a land swap between the WP Wilson Basin School District number 7 and Wilson Parks and Recreation District. The land parcel we're talking about, it's located up by the Waterworld property. And there's the northern corner right off of the 18th Street there is currently under the school district's ownership. And then also Wilkinson, you could go down to the south, Wilkinson's playground, there's a similar corner of similar size. That's under the park district's ownership, so we're looking to swap these land parcels both so that they are accurate to their current uses. And then also to move forward with the Bogies mini golf project. So as far as I know right now, title opinions have been ordered for the off-bid parcel that's in between Waterworld and the school district's parcel. And it would be per the guided direction of this board to order a title opinion for the school district's parcel.
Board members, what we would be looking for this evening would be permission for the superintendent to reach out and get a title opinion relating to that parcel of land for the school district. So if there is any interest in moving forward, we would need a motion approving the superintendent to perform that duty.
I'll make a motion to continue the land swap entitlement.
So just looking for title approval to go for title opinion.
I'll make a motion for title approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion? Dr. Germanson? Can you update the board too on your process on what you'll do?
So I will go out for an opinion for that piece as remember Bar said, there's a piece of the Wilkinson playground that actually is in District 7's property. So I will get the title opinion on that and then we will forward, we'll bring it to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Germanson.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can. Yes, you will.
So has there been a survey done to show how much land is the playground is on? Is that gonna be part of the opinion piece or has that already been completed?
I guess that's a question for Mr. Barsh. I mean, I've seen the plot. The city obviously has. And it's, I would assume it's been surveyed numerous times, and so I've seen the plot and seen this triangle piece or whatever.
So, when we got into the project for the Waterworld project, we looked into the zoning requirements for the rezone with the city dedicated land for Waterworld.
Yeah.
And then it kind of brought to our attention that the lines are not matching up with the tire uses and it kind of intersects with the playground.
Okay.
So I would imagine that's a result of the previous survey. We are getting every parcel surveyed and getting the lines fixed to where they should be
Okay.
for open uses.
Because I know that playground's been there for decades.
Yeah.
And I believe the fencing's been there for
Yeah.
at
it's
least
been
20
some
years,
time.
if not longer.
It's been some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Paul, could you call the roll?
Mr. Barsh, are you voting?
I won't say.
Sluter,
Yes.
Brenner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Swint, Oh, my apologies, Wheeler.
I,
Swett.
Aye.
Motion carries. Dr. Jurgensen, you can proceed with pursuing that.
Yeah, I wanted to, here we are, we're in our 16th day of school, I believe, we're in our 4th week. If I could have the enrollment report pulled up, please. Just wanted to give the board a heads up on where we're at with our students. If you go to this, you could go to the next page, please. This is there any way to remove that thing?
No.
Okay, so look at yours and you can see the difference between last year's 5174 and this year's at 5562. We're 388 students above last year. This is broke down by grade level, red meaning we had less, but look at this, there's one less. So the rest of these, we have more this year than we did last year in these certain grades, except for second grade, you can see it's just a matter of 15. 388 students. If you go to the next slide, please. You'll see where red means bad over, right? We're over our preferred limit in that. Green is good. Yellow is getting close. Yellow is total. And so you'll see that across all of our schools in the primaries, the kindergarten, the first grade, we have some pretty jam-packed kindergarten and first grade rooms. Obviously, we know what's happening in about 8 months as we're opening slowly. So we can't wait. Can't wait any longer, right? I know that there will be a funding piece, obviously, that with more students comes more funding. And so Mr. Arnold will be talking about that as well, but just so we know, we've talked about it many times on many years and many different referendums about what to do. And so obviously we have some decisions with this district. What will we do when we keep having many students as we do? But for right now, there's your numbers. And if I want to call out one of the principals, if Ms. Johnson, you could tell us, how full is your school?
It's very full. We panic every day we get an email from enrollment. Oh, what's happening? Yeah,
So-
they're very full.
Yeah, but when we talked with our admin team last year and we knew trying to get all the kids in the right boundaries and everything, that just trying to get to next June to open up Slow and we can start putting kids in there, but we'll see how packed we are when we open the doors. So anyway, good numbers. It's a good problem to have. You have lots of growing families and growing community. So. Any questions?
What's the ideal number for an elementary classroom, like?
So for kinder, you guys would go ahead, darling.
K1, we want at least no less than 20 to 22 is max usually. And then second grade is 24, and then third and fourth is 25 is what we would look at. So, yeah. So we're a wee bit over and all.
Right.
that's the question I was about to ask, because I was looking at the numbers and seeing the way I was looking at it, the K and one, especially at Lewis and Clark and McVeigh, you've got enough overflow to potentially, especially at Lewis and Clark, potentially open up another kindergarten.
We just don't have a room.
I know you
And
don't.
we're gonna put it on.
There is no room. Just
Yes.
magically poof them in, but yes.
And that's a big reason why Dr. Jurgensen is sharing this is we know as a board, there is direction that the board has voted on to say this is the numbers that we ideally want to get for our classrooms to keep our teachers from being overwhelmed. Within that, we are building a school. And so waiting for that school to open, we do have some class sizes that are not ideal, but not something that's going to continue after this year. And that's why Dr. Jurgensen's presenting this today to keep everybody informed that, yes, we see it, we know what's going on, but this is not the end of the road. We'll get these class sizes back down as soon as that new school opens, and then we'll see how many more kids flow into the district that year. Board members, any other questions?
All right. committee.
committee updates.
Yes, so there's a couple different ways to go. First, I will tell you about and tie the one in. When I assumed the superintendent position, there was a couple different committees that through negotiations and some of our teachers had talked about some things that had come up from years past. And we have to look at these items, address them, see if they're worthy of going forward and or keep going further down the road with it or kill this idea at where it's at. One of those is the 4-day school week. And so I've been asked to get a committee going. And so we had admin meeting last week. We're having teachers and admin and parents and everything. And so Dina Norby, our principal at Missouri Ridge, is going to be chairing that. Then we have a special ed committee. This came up last year when we were talking about negotiations and sped issues and those kinds of things. Because Grand Forks had just done a special education, kind of look at themselves, a committee, and they kind of looked at themselves and it came up during negotiations. So I said, yes, absolutely, we'll look into it. So Darla Ratzak, who's in charge of our special ed, is working with Wilmac, and we're looking at, we're gonna be looking at our special ed challenges as well. That kind of ties into, I don't know if anybody was paying attention, but last week, the legislature had a special education funding committee meeting. And so they came and there's 3 memorandums from the committee. One of them is reading and math proficiency in students with disabilities. One is recruitment and retention of special education teachers. And the other one is special ed funding study. And that's been the preface of the committee. We just so happen to have, it was by invitation only. And Mr. Sean Haas, our WIMAC director, was invited. And so he is part of this committee. So I've talked to him. And so potentially next month, if the board wishes, he could come in and share a little bit what they started talking about in some of the challenges of special ed in North Dakota and some of the things that the legislature and directors and superintendents and lawmakers are looking at addressing.
Members, any questions?
So I'm hoping for these committees that I have formed that you'll be hearing some noteworthy things throughout the year. Like I said, we're just getting running, and then we'll give some updates at board meetings and in the weekly update. And assume at some point we bring it to your guys' attention. Things such as the 4-day school day, 4-day school week for you guys' input.
Dr.
All right.
Brooks, I just really quickly want to thank you for following through on items that we did have discussions that were very, very important to WIA
Yeah.
during our negotiations, and that there's follow through. Dr. Germanson said that he would make sure that these things were reviewed, and he is doing that. So I appreciate the follow through on this, and I look forward to hearing the reports. Under the committee updates, we have a few items that we will cover for the governance committee, down on items 8C and 8D. We will be seeking some guidance on how to move forward in that committee with some policies and the superintendent evaluation format. That is where we are currently in governance. And then on the planning committee, who has an update for that committee?
Jumping ahead.
It's an item 7. Did you vote on it too?
Yeah, because we're on
No.
5D.
5C, district committee updates.
Okay.
I would say we'll review those when we get to them for information and guidance.
Agenda item 7 is committee reports.
Yeah, that's the report.
For the board.
I apologize. I jumped ahead on a different one.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to call you out on that, but I got confused.
Okay, moving on to 5D, activities and athletic.
Yes.
think it's
the other.
It's the other one.
I don't.
Yeah. So, thanks for having me. Earlier this year, Dr. Jermson approached me and said that
that it'd be really a really neat thing to talk about the championships that we've won in our school's history. And so we put together this fancy graphic that has a lot of the different things on it. You can just scroll down on this one. And so here it talks about some of our team championships that we've won. We've put the years behind those. We can see that there's some that it's been a couple of years since we've won one. But then as you look down, you can see that there's been some real sustained success in other sports, namely cross country, drill team. They've been very successful. As a matter of fact, with our boys cross country team, Coach Wallstrom was nominated as the North Dakota's representative for National Coach of the Year. And this is the second year that this has happened for us. Coach Gregory was nominated last year. And so that's a pretty distinct honor to have our boys and girls coaches nominated as a representative for North Dakota. So we're really proud about that. As you can see, our drill team is very good at hip hop. They've won the last 6 state championships. They've won the last 3 of the jazz. The open category was brand new last year, and they went ahead and won that as well. Our cheer team, our middle school cheer team, shameless plug to my wife, who's the head coach there. They started the state championships last year for middle school, and they won the game day division. And the JV, they started those championships there as well. And Ms. Wheeler can probably speak about it as good as I can, but they were able to bring home the timeout championship last year. And so they're really excited about that and looking forward to they've been talking about trying to get new routines and so forth to bring home more championships in that as well. And so we're really proud about that history. If you keep scrolling down, I will not read all of these because there are roughly 151 individual state champions in our school's history. You can see those that go to the Legends Banquet. Some of the names that are repeated on there are some of our legends that are in our Hall of Fame. But we went through and we tried to recognize each individual that was able to win an individual state championship. Some names that you guys are very familiar with from these past few years that have done really, really well. And you can see who holds the most individual state championships. You look at boys swim, you see Colton Kringan's name up there a lot. And as you keep scrolling down, you can see the different ones. Girls wrestling, for example, is a fairly new recognized sport, and we were able to get 2 state champions the year that in its inaugural year. Boys wrestling and boys track and field had to have their own separate slide because of how many state champions we've had in that, and plan to add more. You can see Tyson Rice was on there from last year. He was able to win a state championship on the individual side of things. As you just keep scrolling down, this is something you can review at a later time to see all the different names and see the success we've had. But there's been sustained success with athletes that are competing at the collegiate level right now, and really excited and proud for them. And I too put a slide at the end so I knew when to end. You can see, just to summarize it all, there's just a few pictures. My staff, Colby Simonson, Tyler Quilling, and everyone, they do a great job at updating our Facebook and our other social media platforms with pictures. So if you go on there, you'll see these pictures and more. But like I said, we have 49 team state championships and 151 individual state championships. Both boys and girls cross country are ranked #1 this year. We have some other teams that are defending state champions that we're excited to see and looking to add more to it as well. So anybody have any questions on these?
Board members, any questions?
Just a comment. For any parent listening or any of our athletes listening, great job. Sports is incredibly important to education. Working as a team, I feel, is incredibly important to recognition, and then also as to be an adult, learning to work with a team, to have a team goal. You need those skills in the adult workforce. So I'm very proud of all of our athletes and our coaches.
Absolutely. And one other thing, it doesn't fall under sport, but we did win the state championship in esports as well last year. We were able to sort of resurrect that program after a few years of it not being a program or being a club. And they did go and win the state championship last year as well with the top ranked player in our region and one of the best players nationally. So I didn't add that on there because it's not sport, but I didn't want to leave that one off.
Board members? Thank you, Mr. Conley.
Thank you.
Mr. Arnold, Budget presentation, 2025.
Good evening, everyone. So this is the update and kind of the final figures of where we ended up with for the projections and the budget for the year. It was alluded to earlier by Dr. Jorgensen is, things having a good problem, but also kind of a bad problem with more students. But so I'm gonna skip over the informational stuff in the first part that talks about, kind of where we're at as far as compared to other folks, but just want to reiterate that, when working with the budget, that, we're keeping our mission, vision, and beliefs in check with all of that. So it guides us and directs us on where we need the money to go. But on page 8 is where we'll start with the proposed budget. So again, one piece or two pieces that have significantly added to the revenue piece of the budget is, as we alluded, the increase in student count. Right now, we're looking at the approximately 380 student increase. I did not in these figures account for the 380 because our official count isn't until the 1st of October. So some of that may change. So I only accounted for about 225 kids in my increase in funding for the district. And then along with that and so that amounts to about 3 million of that 4. And then the other piece that goes with that, I found out here a 3 weeks ago that the city retired a TIF district within this district boundaries. So, for those of you that for a TIF district is what that is it's a tax increment financing district or something. I can't remember what the full acronym is, but basically to attract business or development within like the downtown community, the city can offer basically tax savings to these businesses for their property tax, which results in little to none of tax revenue coming in. So now that TIF is gone, that increased our taxable value significantly. So if you look on page 9, when I presented last month, our taxable value increase over last year was like 0.66%. So now with that coming off, you can see that we're at about 6.4%. So that's a pretty significant jump in our taxable value, which is good for us because our mills generate more dollars, but it's also good for the taxpayers because that means that the taxes are spread out even further. So even though as we move on here, you'll see that we've got a little bit of a increase in mill levies for the payment on Slolan, that it doesn't hit the individual taxpayer as hard as what it would have been if our taxable value was a lot less. And then on the expenditures, so there wasn't much of a change in there. The only change with the expenditures is because of our enrollment increases, we do need teachers and paras, but the only hard part of that is we don't have the space to add teachers and paras. So, we're trying to work through that. But I did add like two positions in the certified and the hourly, just to kind of account for that enrollment increase. So that's the change in the expenditures over the proposal from a month ago.
Could we just try to get, Ted, could you get to page 12, please? We could show that. Back up, back up. Back up.
It's actually page 8 is where we're starting.
We're like bouncing back and forth. We went from 8 to 4 to 9. And I'm like really confused
So-
right now.
So here is, so where I'm showing where I talked about before, where our taxable value went from the 0.66 to the 6.4. And again, a mill value is 1/1000th of the taxable value, and that's where I was talking about that it spreads out the cost on the taxpayer because it's or the value is more, so therefore it spreads it out for the taxpayer as far as the tax statement that they'll get.
Real
Next,
quick,
yes.
I also see you removed the special reserve.
Oh, yes.
Want to touch on that just real quick?
So the special reserve is an extra fund that we could do to account for. So like last year, we used that to purchase some route buses for transportation. And so because of adding a couple positions for the increased student count, but the other piece that I have some information on coming along here too is you'll see that for the tuition, I increased the mills there. So what the tuition levy does is, so we have, like we talked about the study on the special ed. So we have students that are placed in specific facilities. We also have youth detention facilities that some of our students get sent to. But we receive a bill from those facilities for our students for the education they receive. And a lot of times, or sometimes, those are students that have never attended our school district, but it's because their parents, for some reason, moved to Williston, and wherever the parents reside is the district that has to pay that bill. So last year, our tuition that we paid for the full year was almost 700,000. And we levied about approximately 140,000 last year. Part of this is me learning North Dakota's processes and things for the tuition fund. We were at a training here a month or so ago where we specifically talked about the tuition levy. And they listed out, the things that should be doing with it and can do with it. And this was the biggest piece of it for, those student placements. So in the past, the general fund has been absorbing those costs. So it's kind of shifting where those expenditures come from so that we can use our general fund dollars in staffing, repairs, maintenance, things like that. So as just proposing on here that we increase that a little bit just to kind of help pay for those students, but then also to get things to flow a little bit better as far as our budgets go. And then again, on the sinking in interest, so we've got a full year now that we have to pay on Sloan, so that's the increase there for sinking in interest.
What page are you on now?
What's that?
What page are you on?
So that was page 9.
Right.
And then if you can back up the slide right there. So here's just kind of a summary of where we've been for the last few years. So as you can see, the proposed for the income. So in August, we were at my first presentation, we were at about 88.5. But again, because of the increase in student count and the retirement of the TIF district, that was able to jump up quite a bit. One thing too that I did drop was oil and gas. Because we're really quite not sure where all of that's gonna land, so I did back that off. And then the enrollment and the taxable value kind of offset with that too. But one thing too that I want to reiterate with this is we are, gonna see a pretty good increase in our revenues, but I'm not one to increase our expenditures to match that, because if we can make it work with where we initially proposed, let's, stay there because we've had our bases covered. Yes, it's nice to have that cushion because if you have 3 boilers blow up or not blow up, but go out this winter.
Bad terminology.
Where's the wood?
If we have that to fall back on, we'd have to come to you for a budget amendment to do that, but we have that capability with that cushion. Next slide. So and like I mentioned, the piece that you'll see here is that added a couple positions for certified and classified for the paras, just to kind of say we need them, but where to put them is another story. So, and one of the things that Dr. Dermison didn't really mention on the enrollment increase is, our high school is beyond capacity and they have every room filled. They need more teachers, but we have no place to put them. Which is another, it's a good problem, but it's also another problem to solve. So next slide. So in here, the change here is the site library budget. So as you know, we lost Leslie, our library, or media coordinator. I can't remember what her title was, but she took care of the library area and their needs. So is what I did, since we don't have that position, is she left a layout of what she had for the libraries. So this site library budget, I just took and added into the sites specifically for their library. Now, there are other pieces of that for curriculum because the libraries do the STEM and the STEAM programs. So there's curriculum pieces that go with that we're meeting next week with everybody to kind of iron out where all of that will fall. But these, again, I come up with $1 per student based on what Leslie had shown with student counts to kind of come up with that $9. And I was trying to, stay with the theme of basing things on student count. So when numbers increase or decrease, budgets correspond. Next slide. And then this here is then the remainder of the district. So with operations and technology and business office, your budgets, all of that stuff. So there isn't any changes here. So like I said, we're trying to keep everything where it is. So with the increase in payroll, there was a little bit of an increase in the total general fund expenditures. So with that comes that $4,038,717. So that's basically in addition to our fund balance. So it would be left over. So, and as in our prior discussions, we're below board policy on where that should be. We're supposed to be between 10 and 15%. Right now, we're not quite 5. So with that, adds about another 4%. So it's getting us there, to keep us within board policy. But we're not quite there yet. So, and that's another reason why we didn't want to just increase expenditures to match revenues, because we've also got to take care of that other piece of the district finances with the fund balance. So, and then the other piece too with the fund balance is if we ever go out for another bond, bonding companies look at that fund balance and they want to see a decent fund balance, which shows a very stable district. Therefore gives us better rates on our bonds. So then it doesn't cost us as much to have those bonds. Next slide. So this is just visual of where things are at as far as expenditures and revenues over the years. And the next slide. So in here is just now the summary then of what we submit to the county. Basically is where what this will do is if it's approved, I submit this to the county. They so it shows the mills per area, the dollar amounts, and then with the total. So one thing too, we request these numbers from the county, but we always know that we're not going to get every dollar every year because some are delinquent, so it's collected the following year and things like that. So we always have a cushion in there for taking into account those slow collections within the taxes and things. And then the next slide is just again, these are just projected preliminary fund balance figures. And they won't be solidified until the audit of fiscal year 25 is done. But this is where after closing out the books for June 30th, where I am projecting things to be. We still are showing food service as, and in this picture, red is good, black is bad. So, but we're working on some things with that. I've moved Regina's salary to the general fund. And that's accounted for in the general fund budget. And then Regina's been working on some things within the food service area. We did increase the adult cost if they eat for the eat lunch at the school. It'll cost them a little bit more. We didn't do anything as far as student lunch costs, so we kept that the same. So we're just kind of working through those, and then with the increased students, we should see some increase there, not only just meal sales, but also reimbursements from the state. But one thing too, I alluded to here, that's not finalized until the audit. We still are working with the state. They're actually waiting for another state agency or retirement system to verify numbers. And we can't just say, yes, that's the correct numbers. They have to verify them with the state before they can finalize their stuff. So we're still working on that for the 23 and 24 budget audit. And then we have scheduled again in November for this last year's audit. So questions?
Board members, any questions?
I guess just to recap the change. So again, took away the special reserve levy from when I preliminarily presented. And then you increase the tuition levy by 1 to help offset those tuition costs from the students that are placed. And those were the two changes.
Board members, any questions?
Yeah.
Mrs. Wheeler?
So on the slide that's up there right now, what is that service stand, what does that represent?
That's the sinking in interest, so that's where the bonds are paid
Yep.
for.
Yep.
So, but it's a little bit different here, because normally all of your debt is paid out of the debt service, but in years past with District One, where they couldn't get bonds to pass, we have a small bond that's paid out of the general fund, and then we have some bonds that are paid out of the building fund. But, and then the debt service then makes up the rest of it, so.
Why did you remove oil and gas?
Because it's so not. It's not looking, you know, as far as projection that there's gonna be a bunch more production like we were thinking. People are getting, you know, companies are laying off folks, so it's just uncertain. And I mean, it's always uncertain with oil and gas, but just from different things that are floating around out there, I just didn't feel that increasing it would be, you know, I don't want to project it out there and then not come in and then be short revenue, so.
I can appreciate that. I don't know where you're hearing that information from. I've heard different. So any oil and gas money that does come in, where is that, how is that being?
So that'll add to our fund balance. So if we're above what is projected or budgeted, so that just helps our fund balance.
Okay.
So we'll still get it in. It's just that it won't be able to be spent. But it will go to the fund balance to carry forward, or if we need to do a budget amendment, it'll be available then to spend. I mean, you can't look at just one
No.
pot like that. So I mean, if it comes in and something else is short, yeah, it evens out. But if everything comes in and we end up with more oil money, then that goes to our fund balance.
Okay.
Anything else, Ms. Wheeler?
Not at this time.
Board members? Any additional questions? If you have any additional questions, I do recommend you ask them now because we will be approving this preliminary budget.
I say my door is always open and I can sit down and go over details or. And as always too, like last month, I talked about with the change in the state law that we have a 3% cap that is what we can raise, but so I had to do 3 different calculations with that. And we end up that we're get to carry the full 3% over. So if we can carry that for 3 years. So if in the next few years, we end up where our taxable value swaps, you know, we do have some cushion we can actually borrow technically from prior years so that we can go beyond that 3% if needed to meet expenditures, things like that. Just one of those other things that the legislature threw in to make school finance so understandable.
Did they explain why they changed it from a budget hearing?
I never really did hear, other than like with small districts, it's just usually a one and done thing that, you know, people come in and. So I mean, and that's kind of hard, you know, like in rural states, it's your schools are made more up of the smaller districts versus, you know, the larger districts that have all of that, so.
Board members, any additional questions before we move on?
For athletics and activity, you have 950,000, that just game day operations, that includes salaries from
No.
activities?
That doesn't include salaries. That's just operational.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Ron. Right. Item 5F is Constituting America presentation. And I will quickly let Mr. Barsh introduce this. Okay with that?
Yeah, so I received an email from his contact and connected to the program via another contact, and just that it would be a good program to introduce to the school district. Once I received it, I immediately forwarded to Dr. Dermanson to kind of dive in deeper or see how would be the most appropriate format to bring it to the board. I do believe admin is doing their due diligence as well, but we do have Ms. Close, hope I said your name correct, available for a presentation today to kind of give a general overview of the program, and we can determine if it's a benefit to our district.
Okay, Ms. Colas, if you would
All right.
like.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, thank you so much for the invitation, the opportunity to do a brief presentation, you guys, about Constituting America and about our program. So our organization was founded in 2010 by, if you remember the TV show Northern Exposure, Janine Turner played Maggie in Northern Exposure. She's our co-founder, and our other the other founder is our CEO, Kathy Gillespie, and they started it in 2010 because they said, you know what, kids need to know about our Constitution. So how do we get this content into schools to supplement what may already be there, what may not already be there? So our main bread and butter of what we bring into schools is a program called the Relevancy of the Constitution. And I'm in Colorado, and I run everything in Colorado, but I have gone into helped open up 6 other states, and as we're continuing to expand our footprint. We're a 501c3, so we don't go into anything controversial. So as we're going through the presentation, we're asking students, what is it that they want to see changed in their community? We keep it to things like dog parks, paved roads. It could be, maybe they're going to tear down a park and they want to, put up an apartment building, but kids want to keep that. So what is it kids want to see kept and or changed in their community? So we have 2 learning objectives when we go into schools. The first one is that kids see, how do the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution fit together? 2 separate documents written 12 years apart, but we need one to support the other one. Every student gets a copy, their own copy of the Declaration and the Constitution that they get to keep for themselves. Our second learning objective is that kids walk out of our presentation with a little skip in their step, because they've come to understand that we don't have a junior constitution, that our constitution is for them. And so we walk kids through the parts of the Declaration, doing some definitions, like what does unalienable rights mean? Where do we get our rights from? That we're born with them, that they don't come from government, but they come from because you're born with them. Those kinds of things. Then we start going through some of the specifics of the Declaration or the Constitution, like that we have 3 branches of government. What are the 3 branches? What order did they put them in the Constitution? Because that actually, it's here's an example of what we share. The legislative branch is first because it's closest to the people. And so then we walk kids through what I call a verbal simulation. We ask students, and our target audience is grades 4 through 12, what is it you want to see changed in your community? Let's just use as an example that they want to create a dog park. Great, you want to create a dog park. So why do you want to create it? How do you create it? How do you go about bringing it about? And why do you want to see that come about? And then what we do is we walk kids through the First Amendment. We have an acronym called RAPS: Religion, Assembly, Press, Petition, and Speech. Those are the 5 rights in the First Amendment. We don't touch religion, not that it's not an important part of our First Amendment. It's just not part of what we do for our presentation. So we walk kids through, great, okay, so you've written now a petition. What are you going to do with that petition? Well, now you need to use your freedom of speech. Well, who are you going to speak to about building a dog park? Well, I'm going to speak to the people in my community. Well, great. Have you solved your problem yet? No. Now what do you need to do? You need to use another tool in your toolbox of the First Amendment. You're going to organize an assembly. Okay. With your parent permission, you're going to organize an assembly. And who are you going to invite? Well, you're going to invite people that you agree agree with, maybe people that disagree with you so you can persuade them. Great. Have you solved your problem now? Nope. Now what we need to do is we need to call the press. So with your parent permission, you pick up the phone and you call channel X for your community. We say, hey, channel X, we're getting ready to have an assembly. We'd like you to come to our assembly to hear about our petition. Great. You've used the 4 tools in the toolbox. Have you solved your problem? Nope. Now who do you need to call? Now you need to call your member of Congress. Even though a dog park is not a national issue, we sort of role play as though it is. Now you call your member of Congress because you're going to invite your member of Congress to your assembly and you're going to say, Congressman, Congresswoman, we would like you to take our petition back to Washington and do something about it. Again, we know that a dog park, if that's their issue, isn't a national issue unless we're talking about, more funding or something like that. But we walk kids through the First Amendment, showing them that they have power to change their community and that kids understand, you know what? I don't have to wait until I'm 18 in order to be able to change my community. I can actually do something about it right here, right now. And we teach kids things like that we are a republic, that we're not a democracy. We use the democratic process, but we are a republic. We actually go through the parts of the Constitution where it says those kinds of things. We also this year we're focusing a little bit of our presentation on America 250, coming up with our 250th anniversary as a birthday as a nation. And what does the Declaration say about that? So we've got some time built in to focus so that kids understand that, hey, this July 6th, 2026, or July 4th, 2026, America's going to have its 250th birthday. Pretty amazing. So we have a pre-survey and a post-survey that we give kids. It takes teachers about 5 minutes. We do not collect any student data. It's just the name of the school and their answers. That's all we collect. We use that for our funders. And then we have the post-survey, and I go through that content, and whether me or my colleague, when we do the presentation, we go through that content when we're doing the presentation. Then there's the post-survey just to say, did the kids get it? And are we on track with what we did for that? We have an amazing contest. Elementary school kids have 2 categories, art and poetry. And I don't know if you guys can see, if I hold it up close enough to the camera to see, like, this is an example of a student winning artwork that was done several years in 2014. And we put these into one of the things that we do with our kids that win the contest is we actually promote their winning artwork. So like artwork, elementary wins $100. Middle school has 4 categories: song, STEM, essay, and PSA. And middle school wins $200 and a free trip. High school has, I think, 6 categories. They win $1,000 and our free trip. Free trip is all expenses paid. They get to bring another adult with them. The last few years, we've gone to Washington, D.C. Everything is VIP. We've had a VIP tour of the Supreme Court, VIP tour of the Capitol. We even got onto the House floor. We've gotten between 30 or 75 minutes with some of the justices so they can actually ask questions of the justices. We've had a VIP tour of the Pentagon, etc. And so kids really get to have an amazing experience with the trip. If a teacher gets 10 kids to submit for the contest, they get $50. If a teacher gets the most number of kids to submit for the contest, they get $1,000. And I always tell them they don't have to spend it on the students. They can spend it however that they would like. And there is also a lesson plan contest. The teacher who wins the lesson plan gets $2,000, and they also get the free trip. Every class gets a copy of our book called Our Constitution Rocks. It goes through every aspect, every sort of line by line of the Constitution and puts it into student language. So it's an amazing resource for the teachers in their classroom and or their school library to say, all right, we're teaching about the Constitution, but what does it mean? How does this apply to kids? Because kids always think, Washington, that's what they do. We want kids to understand that you are a member of Congress. We specifically focus on the House, not necessarily the Senate, but they should not be going to Washington, D.C. on a Sunday night saying, oh my goodness, what can I make the people of my community do? No, they need to be it's we the people. They should be listening to the folks in their community. And that includes the young people in your community as well. So it's a free, and students get prizes for participating. We can do it as an assembly. We can do it as individual classes. I prefer individual classes depending on how we structure things, simply because we all know as educators, and I'm a retired high school social studies teacher, the larger the audience, the smaller the attention and retention. So if we do individual classes, you know, I think it's easier for the kids. And more students get prizes, more students get to be heard, seen, and get to participate. But depending on, let's say you had one of us come up and you're like, you know what, I want us to do every 5th grade class wherever that lands for your curriculum. You know, we may need to combine classes, and I do one elementary in the morning and one elementary in the afternoon, that kind of thing. So just, I know I had 5 minutes. I didn't even time myself to know if I'm over, forgive me for that, over my 5-minute time limit. So that's a thumbnail sketch of what we do. Again, we do not do anything controversial. So if a student were to say something that would be controversial, the teacher steps in and says, hey, we're not going there with that. And the role of the teacher is the pre and the post survey, and then managing any classroom issues that happen to come up in the classroom at that point in time. But other than that, they don't have to do any planning. We bring everything and we provide everything that's needed for the presentation. Again, it's called the Relevancy of the Constitution. We have other items like every Tuesday. For you guys, it would be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. We have a live chat, and that's something that like your students, a teacher can log in. They're not on camera, but they can ask questions. They get a shout out if they're like, hey, Mrs. Jones, you know, 12th grade AP class is watching. They'll get a shout out for that. We also have everything online is free, lots of different resources for the teachers, students, and adults as well. So there's the presentation. Again, if I went over, forgive me for that.
Board members, any questions? Mrs. Booth?
What is the cost to the district?
Nothing. We have everything we provide to schools is free. Like here in Colorado, Colorado's funded by regional grants, but other states are funded by nationwide grants, and that you would be funded by a nationwide grant. I don't think that there's one specifically for your state, but there's no cost. Anything we do in schools, there is no cost to a school and or a teacher.
Anything else, Ms. Booth?
How many states are you guys in? How many states are you using right now?
I don't know the number. I know we're increasing a lot. We have, if you get online to our website, I don't have the exact numbers, but you can look at our annual report, and that has the number of states that we're moving into. I know that I personally have helped open 6 states: Wyoming, Nebraska, Idaho, Georgia, and there's one other one I'm missing off the top of my head right now. But I've helped open 6 states. But we are growing a lot, especially this year with America 250 coming up with our birthday. We're having a lot more interest in getting this content into schools.
Okay, 2 more. How many years have you guys been doing this again?
This is my 4th year, but Constituting America has been around since 2010. So 15 years.
And then the curriculum that you're using, who's created that?
It was created by our founder, the pre and the post test, the PowerPoint. It's we go through the 10 questions, but we also have a couple other slides like part of the Declaration of Independence, and we go through the vocabulary of that. And then we also have a slide of a quote by Abraham Lincoln that says the Declaration of Independence is the golden apple, the Constitution is the silver frame that upholds it. We explain that the Declaration of Independence is the prize, it's the trophy, but it needs a trophy case, and that's what the Constitution does. So that we've got 10 slides with the content that we cover, but then we have a couple of slides that covers the contest, the one I just said, the quote by Abraham Lincoln, and then the slide about the Declaration of Independence. And we go through, you know, we hold these truths to be self-evident. So we start there, and then we end with about the part about the people, I'm just drawing a blank about the last part. So just part of the Declaration of Independence, not the entire thing.
Okay, may I ask one more?
Please.
Okay, one more quick question. So you're not charging districts, the monies to reimburse yourselves is through grants. Where is the money coming from that's being given to students who win in these prizes and these trips? Where's that money coming from?
It could be individual donors. Like when we do, when we have when we have an online auction, there may be somebody who says, you know what, Sally Jones from this community, her trip is worth, $2,500. I could very easily bid on that. It could be individual donors who are supporting that, or it could be a foundation, or it could be part of the grant that funds that as well. It just depends on sort of how it shakes out.
Okay.
Board members, any additional questions? Thank you very much for your time. Dr. Germanson will follow through on his curriculum process, and I would expect the administration to reach out to you with any questions.
Great. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you waiting around.
You bet. Take care. Bye.
Moving on to item number 6, monitoring school district operations. 6A, approve results, policy 7, monitoring report.
Our 7, please. All right. R7, result 7, summary of policy. The superintendent shall maintain a program of instruction for challenging and relevant opportunities for all students. R7, co-curricular opportunities and participation goals. Student participation, engagement, in co-curricular activities will be monitored and reported annually following the school board's annual monitoring calendar. And so what I would like to do is defer this to Mr. Conley. He has a chart here that shows that basically we have increased our participation. So Mr. Conley, if you come up, please.
Okay. Mine would be that other fancy graphic now. So in a nutshell, I won't read every single one of these numbers to you because there are a lot. We have data from the 2021 year through 25-26 through this current school year. And it shows the number of registrations that we had in those particular sports to begin with. And then we go by activity as we get further. And you can see that there's steady increase throughout all of our sports that you can see on the screen here. Obviously, there are some outliers where there's 2 or 3 or 5 more in one year than the other. I'd point your attention towards the green square. Again, green means good. You see that in 23-24, boys soccer had 58, and then 24-25, they had 38. Well, what happened? Well, we created the middle school soccer program. Before, soccer was 7 through 12 for boys and girls soccer. And starting in that year, we attempted to and successfully did open middle school boys soccer and middle school girls soccer. So that's where that chunk of student athletes went from that box into the box that you'll see as you scroll down. There are some numbers that aren't perfectly increasing, but that is something that you see throughout the state. Most specifically, participation in sports by females is a trend throughout the state that has been on the decline. We have fared better than other schools, but it is still something that each school district faces and is trying to find the solution to. But as you go down, you can see some of the totals there. Where we're at right now with that 350 number of registrations in 25-26, if we continue on that pace, we'll end up dwarfing the number of student athlete registrations that we had in the previous year. And so we're excited about that. As you move down to the middle school, that's one of those that I'm most excited about. You can see some of those numbers. From 2021, we had 91 football players that registered, and now we have 127. Volleyball, 61-90. We had a meeting today trying to figure out how on earth we're going to get 90 plus volleyball middle school athletes to be able to play because there's not that many positions on the court in those games. And so we started trying to get creative with A, B, C1, C2, D1, finding different games that we can. And so it's a really good problem to have, but like Mike said, it's a problem that needs to be solved as well. Soccer, there's those numbers we were talking about. The little red dashes are indicative of us not having that program. So we created in the last couple of years, fall cheer, middle school boys soccer, middle school girls soccer. fall drill. And so we're really excited about those programs that are getting started. Dr. Jermison, when I first met him, said there's something for everyone here in Williston. And I think that's a really good guiding statement for activities and athletics, is to try to find something for someone. So we can keep going. All of these numbers, all of these are showing you is that here's the individual registration per grade to try to show 1 sport, 2 sport, 3 sports. This slide talks about sports. The next slide or the next page talks about activities as well built into it. The thing that we really are going for is having multi-sport athletes. We had an interesting conference that discussed students that are in 3 and 4 activities versus being in 3 or 4 versus 2. Talking about student welfare and their health and overexertion, overuse, those kind of things. But we really want to get them in more than 1. If we get them in more than 1, then we feel like we're going to be able to have more contact time with them, keep them out of trouble, grades are better on average, those kind of things. You know, a coach or an advisor has the same amount of contact time with a student as their English teacher does or their math teacher does. So we really want to try to get that extra time with them. The slides here talk about the participation. Again, we have the percentage of that number. One thing that we've looked at and we discussed a little bit was our 6th graders. They're able to participate in some sports, not all sports, and they're able to participate in some clubs, not all clubs. And one thing we've discussed is opening them up to all clubs to see if we can get their interest started earlier. And then we're able to get them from year to year. Once they walk in our doors, then we don't let them go. It's kind of our thought process on that. As students get older, they do tend to specialize in some sports or activities. And so numbers do tend to go down. Some have to work, some move away. So you do see a slight decrease there, but we do want to try to open it up for 6th graders, get them involved, get them interested, and then have them be contributing members to our activity department. You can keep scrolling down to see some more of this information. If that looks familiar to you, that was on the R4 Involved Citizen slide that we had, that I did with Mrs. Helsted, that just talks about the percentage of students that are in activities. Our data for the 24-25 year, we switched over our platform from our school to Arbiter because Arbiter bought out our school. And when they did that, they locked all of our data for this year here. So it's been a little bit of a pain to try to get our information from this previous school year so it can be accurate. We have the numbers of registrations, but to break it down by student, it takes a long time and we have to have that data. So that's why you see 22-23, 23-24. But as we've gone, we've been trending up to hit some more of those indicators on this R7 monitoring report. If you scroll down, some of the things that were on there were being able to provide diverse co-curriculars, be able to have them celebrate at the national level, expand programs to enhance competitiveness. So you can see on there, there's a picture of our girls cross country team. They went to Memphis, Tennessee this past week and entered in the Memphis Twilight Invitational. And they competed against 35 schools across the nation and we took first. And if you scroll up just a little bit, you can see the lower the number, the better. You can see that Williston has 68 and however you say their name, Collierville High School had 106. So that would be a blowout in terms of cross country. Other things to where we try to enhance their experience is and celebrate their achievements. You see the little buttons there. I don't know if you can click on those and it will work right now, but this one here is, you can probably just click the X and then maybe scroll down. Here is an example that I chose. This is from our Coyote football team. Our head coach, Steve Powell, has empowered our student managers to not only just be the managers that run out the water or grab the bags and stuff like that, but they also run this Facebook for them and do all of them, like the social media marketing and things like that. So you can see where we had a camp where our kids went and our football players went and worked the camp. There's pictures of that on there. This is the Friday night when we celebrated them at halftime. If you scroll down just a little bit more, there's some action shots that they took. trying to get to one more thing, just scroll down to a little bit more. We do Scout Player of the Week. So this is where we celebrate a student. This student here is a starter, but there are students that aren't starters that don't get a lot of the attention, but they're putting in the work and practice. They do this to highlight those students. So they get to see like your hard work is paying off and we appreciate what you do. They also do different graphics, 4 days till game day, 3 days till game day. You've probably seen that on your board book. That's from students that do that. I just copy and paste it in there. So it's really impressive the things that they do. If you want to back out of that now, please. Sorry, I'm making you do all that. And then, so just to keep kind of going on that. So we also do the weekly board update where we send it to the board to try to celebrate what they do. And try to give you guys an update as to how our teams are doing, how our students are doing in their clubs, things of that nature. And then, let me get to my notes, there we go. And then, so we have our Facebook page. I think a lot of you have seen that. And then if you click on that Celebrating Student Achievements button, please, and then I am almost done. So we try to send this out. This is a year in review from last year. Obviously, Dr. Jermison is very gracious to help us do a lot of things to celebrate them. These are some of the championship rings that we got. Our state champions from cross country, softballs, theirs will be on the way. But you can see that these are all the things that we've talked about and celebrated. If you can just scroll down kind of, there's the softball teams, our soccer teams, cross country, our all WDA teams. We celebrate our teams that our team scholar awards where all of our athletes have a 3.2 GPA or higher. That's where they earn team scholar awards. If you keep going down, you'll see some of our clubs where we have students that are named president of the, well, we go to Mr. Bisbee first, where he was the 2025 Allegro Award winner. We try to, all of our teachers that do a lot, when they receive awards, we try to recognize them as well. North Dakota State-elect president for NHS, Angela Wall, was on there. FBLA has been doing great things, TSA. So there's a lot of different things that we try to celebrate. The national recognition that we talked about, these are just a few that we've had. We've sent FFA to Indianapolis, middle school TSA to Florida, wrestling's going to Denver, cross country's gone to Tennessee and Arizona, cheer's gone to Texas, drill goes to Florida, band's gone to Minneapolis. Our head boys track coach, Tyler Quilling, he's taken his team to Oregon for the national track meet where we finished sixth, I think, sixth nationally as well. And so there's a lot of different things that we've done to try to hit these indicators to show that we're trying to promote activities and athletics for our student athletes. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't talk about enriching our coaches. We have money set aside in our budget that we provide professional development for them. Also, the Kyle Foundation is gracious for us and has the Bubby Carlson scholarship set up to where our head coaches can apply for professional development funds from them. It's a once a year deal that they do that, and they're able to go for professional development as well. All of our coaches are certified 7 through 12. The state requires 9 through 12, but we do 7 through 12. So they have their concussion training, first aid, CPR, AED, the fundamentals of coaching course, and then they do their 2 regular courses on the NFHS Learn website to renew their certification. So we do a lot of things for them as well, and try to give our coaches and our athletes and our advisors everything we can to make them successful and all the tools that they need to help our students.
Board members, any questions?
Yes. A couple questions.
Sure.
Are there any clubs or programs that you've had to dissolve due to a lack of interest?
We have not had to dissolve any. We have some clubs that are open right now who don't have an advisor. And so we try to promote those. We have them on our website to try to get advisors for them. We were actually successful with our science club. Our science club had not had an advisor for the past few years, and Danica Owen applied for that, and she's our new science club advisor. But yes, there's roughly 6 or 7 that don't have advisors, and the reason being is there's no interest from anyone to be that advisor. We have tried to be mindful of clubs that do not have a lot of participants. So we've grandfathered in the clubs we have now. But when we create a new club, we do ask that they have a minimum of 10 students in that club before they get started, and they have a 1-year period. It's like a trial period to where you have the advisor, they work with those students, they have a plan of everything that they're going to do, what the purpose is, their mission, take minutes, all that stuff. And once they're sustained for a year, then when Dr. Jemison approves it, then they become a club.
What are some of the newer clubs or programs?
So, yeah, sure. So we had esports that we created a couple of years ago. We were able to get the science club back on, like I just mentioned. We were able to get the speech and debate. That's one that we're really excited about. We got it started up, and then as it started to progress, they said, we want to go ahead and compete in debate. And so now we were able to go last year and compete across the state in debate meets. And then we haven't had a play director. We have the musical, but we don't like one act play. We were able to hire Shane Lutz for the play director position. And so we're hoping to be able to compete in the one act play this year as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Board members, anything else? Okay, with this, board members, we will be looking for a motion that the interpretation is reasonable and evidence supports compliance unless otherwise stated.
I'll move that the interpretation is reasonable and it is in compliance.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We have first and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. Can you call roll?
Barge.
Aye.
Sluter. Aye. Brenner.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to approve operational expectation 11 instructional program.
All right, so summary of that policy is that the superintendent shall maintain a program of instruction that offers challenging and relevant opportunities for all students to achieve the outcomes outlined in the board's results policies. So under my interpretation, you pull it up, please. Policy requires superintendent to maintain instructional programs that are challenging, equitable, aligned with district standards, diverse needs and goals, programs that are assessed, innovative, use of technology, protection of instructional time. And so I have 7 under my evidence of compliance. I have 7 sections. Number 1, assures instructional programs accommodate the different needs. Want to talk about BAR. You will hear, for those of you that are new board members, that BAR is done by all of our schools now. We had started it 2 years ago in our elementaries, and now this fall, the high school picked it up. And so we are totally into that. Letters is also a way that we teach reading. The second, assure that all curricular programs are aligned to district adopted learning standards. That's what our teachers do during PLCs, are making sure that all of our curriculum is aligned, and you can see the different curriculum teams. 3, assess students. You can see under 3 all of the different assessments we use. CSA is a common summative assessment, common formative CFAs. Those are common summative is the big test at the end, and the formatives are the ones during the week or ones right before you're going to teach. Number 4, look at those numbers there. Ensure that the programs are including opportunities to develop talents. When you start looking at CT data and the different things, CT class 24-25 up 115 students. If you look at that next part here, 43 classes that we've been able to totally add at the central campus. So band, guitar, robotics, humanities, fitness, Spanish, and STEM. So that's huge, I believe. 5, encourage new and innovative programs. And so if you look at further down there, I just talked about middle school electives and then AP courses, which are advanced placement college courses. You can see the amount of students that we've grown that to. Number 6, monitor and control student access. That's the tech like Alpara. That's a program that our teachers that are on all of our district devices, and the teachers can see what the students are on, so that they see that they're on the appropriate stuff. And then number 7, protect the instructional time. And the big thing here was that we're following the state law and that we are protecting our students by having them turn in their devices. And so as I put this a huge step in the right direction, no interruption, which teachers have loved. So with that, I would confirm that based on the above that I am in compliance.
Board members, any questions? Any questions? Okay, same thing as last time. We would be looking for a motion that the interpretation is reasonable and that evidence supports compliance. Do we have that motion?
Move that the interpretation is reasonable and that it is in compliance.
Motion by Mrs. Willett. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Who wants? it? Mr. Johnson, second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Paula, can you call the roll?
Brenner,
Yes.
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Darsh,
Aye.
Sluter,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye. Motion carries. We will adjourn for 5 minutes, take a 5-minute recess, I apologize, until 7:10. in session, if you guys will start. You again? Right, we are back in session at 7:11. We will move on to committee reports, which I attempted to jump to earlier. I do apologize. Governance committee report. We have two items here under 8. It is item 8C and 8D that we will get into more detail on, that we need to get direction from the board on. Those are the items that we covered at our previous meeting. Under the planning committee, who wants to give info on that?
I will.
Mrs. Wheeler.
Thank you. So we met, I was virtual due to traveling. We don't have anything that needs to be approved. It was a relatively quick meeting with updates from J.E. Dunn, as well as for the construction on the Solon Elementary. Everything is on task. Everything's moving forward very well. There is an update in the board book there if you'd like to go through it. And then also the Hagen did an update on that. And there was a couple of hiccups at the very beginning as to where equipment was being placed, and that has been adjusted and fixed, and now everything is going very smoothly. My understanding is it is not interfering with the school day in any way, and everything is on task. We are going to be working with them about having the planning committee do a tour of Sloan Field, an updated tour, maybe in the next month or two, and then we'll be able to report back some additional information and potential additional pictures. Okay. Any questions?
Board members, any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Wheeler. Moving on to item 8, matters reserved for board action. Item 8A is approve the Shots and Associates LLC consulting agreement. I had reached out to Dr. Germanson since our previous agreement was up to get an updated agreement so that we can get approved for the consulting this year as we work through our policies and as we continue the relationship of Dr. Germanson and Dr. Schatz to help grow him as the superintendent of our district. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. You have a motion for approval.
A motion to approve the Shots and Associates LLC consulting agreement.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? I would just like to say, I think that this is an extremely valuable agreement that we have. Dr. Schatz is, he's a very, very talented individual in his field. And without him, I think we would be struggling a little bit to get some stuff done. I do appreciate his work within the district. And I would say that next year, I do believe it would be time to possibly see whether we would continue the relationship or discuss bringing somebody else in to touch on possibly other areas to kind of get a more visual aspect from somebody else. But with that being said, Paul, can you call the roll?
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh,
Aye.
Sluter,
Aye.
Brenner,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 8B, approve WSD 7 2025-26 budget. That was previously discussed earlier. Do we have a motion for approval?
Make the motion to approve the 26 budget.
Do we have a second?
I second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, Paula, could you call the roll?
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh,
Aye.
Sluter,
Aye.
Brenner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to 8C, NDSBA Board Policy Discussion and Direction. This, once again, comes out of the Governance Committee. We have quite a few policies in here. A few we had already dealt with previously relating to public communication, those items. But we have a lot of policies that we need to update to properly reflect our governance model and either to eliminate. And so what we're looking for is direction and approval from the board to work through these policies within the governance committee. Dr. Germanson.
I was gonna say, if you have a second, I would love Ms. Donovan to stand up, please. She was kind of our policy guru, and if she could give us a little bit of more insight into what we're trying to do here.
So basically, the policies that you guys have received, those are NDSBA policies. They're policies that the board adopted at the beginning of District 7. Now with the way the new board governance model is, the board now has separate policies. All of the old district board policies that the board had previously approved for whether it was student, personnel, all those types of things, those all were converted into administrative regulations, except for these policies. These policies really fall on the board as they deal with board issues. I mean, board ethics, board committees, those types of things. So they've been kind of in this weird little limbo land where they're still technically board policies. The board has adopted them, but they don't necessarily go with your current board governance policies that have been created now, but they're all very important to still have. So what we talked about in that committee was really, we're asking the board to give some direction on whether you want these policies to be looked at and continue to be board policies kind of the way they are, and you want the governance committee to go through each of these policies and kind of hash out any possible changes, differences. Do we still need these policies? Do you want to take these policies and integrate them into your current board governance policies? That's kind of the two options I kind of recollect from that meeting that we're kind of looking for guidance on. How do you guys want this to go? They exist, they're real policies, but you as a board need to act on them in some form or fashion.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's 31.
Something like that, yeah.
31. And I unfortunately was in the air during the governance committee meeting, literally in the air on an airplane. But in the airport, I had been continuing to review these, leading up to hoping to join the meeting, and it didn't work out. But more than half of these are in one way or another reflected in our existing governance policy, in my opinion, but should they be merged in is my question that I had for Corey.
Well, it's
So hence the direction.
it's really kind of up to us. Do we want these policies to stay referenced and have them in place, but we also need to make them fit with what our current policies are so that there's no conflict? Because currently, if you go through our governance policies, you'll see reflected at the bottom. You can revert back and take a look at BA or BAA. It'll be referenced in there generally. So the idea is we need to either update them, dispose of them, which I would highly recommend against. As these policies do align with a lot of our activities as board members, how we do things, beyond our relationship just with the superintendent. So I do think they're important policies to have in place, and I do believe that they're important policies that the board oversee and that they not become administrative.
Agree with that.
Mr. Marsh.
From my review, I think it's just important to update them to current operations. There's a couple that popped out to me where it's very, very sound. I saw where it was going. We have kind of changed course or made some decisions that just differ a little bit from the grain of the policy. So I think it's just making sure that the policies align with current operations, which I think requires probably minor edits to the majority of them. Making sure that when we do have to dive back or reference something, it's not going to conflict there. I think that's the most important thing we're trying to get accomplished here. So I would suggest a full review and then to align them with current practice.
Is that the direction of the board? Is that what you guys would like to see?
Where did they fall before? I guess I'm not tracking it.
So originally, prior to the governance model taking place, all policies were under the. We oversaw every policy right down to, I mean, everything. We reviewed, we wrote every policy with a team, of course, and then NDSBA would send recommendations. Okay. So many of these policies that they were, when we became the new district, what we adopted at that time prior to going through the governance model process.
Now, all of the other ones are now administrative regulations. So if they're dealing with personnel, if they're dealing with students, if they're dealing with facilities, those have all shifted. These ones did not because these really are board policies.
When I had sent my thoughts to Mr. Swint, I had broken down each individual one of these policies and gave my opinion on it. And I think that's just what we need to do as a committee, is to break down each of these policies. After we've done that, then present what our recommendation is to the board for each individual one. But we need the board as a whole to tell us whether or not we should do that, or if we should do something else.
So the direction I would be looking for today from the board would be, do these go back to governance committee to review, to be brought back to the board with recommendations?
I move to send all board policies back to the governance policy for review to update to current practices and then back to the board for support.
Oh, you got all that? I'll wait before I ask for a second.
Oh,
Just gonna give her a second to get.
Can help me out, right? Motion to send all board policies back to the governance committee for review.
To update to current practices.
Thank you.
And be brought back to the full board for.
I got it now.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Mr. Ritter, any more discussion?
May I ask just one clarifying question?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I understand. You want to keep these as board policies kind of in the format that they are. You're not looking to integrate them into your new board policy book.
I
will be
think.
decided. Okay,
I think what they have made a recommendation on gives us the latitude
okay,
to discuss that in the governance and come back with whichever ones need to be eliminated, that they no longer apply, whichever ones should roll into the governance, and whichever ones should stay individual. I think that gives us the latitude as a committee to do that. If I'm,
That's the intention.
oh,
yes.
anything else? All right. Paula, you can call it.
Barsh,
Aye.
Sluter,
I,
Brenner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
I,
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Item 8D, superintendent evaluation process discussion and direction. Dr. Jurgensen, if you want to discuss what we were talking about and kind of what you were looking at that you didn't like and.
At the governance meeting, I brought the previous superintendent's evaluation tool. And talking with Mr. Swint, who was there, we kind of discussed, and I know that Ms. Wheeler had some reservations. I don't know if it's the correct measuring tool. So I said that if it was fine with the governance committee, I would go out at HR, reach out to the other Class A schools to get the evaluations that the other Class A school districts use. I'd like to bring those back to the governance committee. We meet again on the 23rd, I believe. And see if we would, if we'd be interested in using one of those tools and not something that we had made up. And then bring it to the board and see if board would approve that and then use that as the measuring device.
We're meeting October 2nd.
October 2nd, yes, there was a bunch of change in there. Yep.
Yep. I personally like that idea because I'm not a big fan of that existing tool. I think that would be a very good idea to bring those back and allow students.
Yeah, the tool that we previously used, it has been a work in progress. So it wasn't very popular previously going with the tool. It was kind of difficult, cumbersome. It really doesn't, I don't think it fits what we're trying to accomplish. And it's kind of difficult to create a fair evaluation working through that tool, in my opinion. We want a tool that works off of our policies and allows us as board members to adequately evaluate the superintendent. So I do, what we're looking for from you guys is the approval to perform this work, to come back with the tool. I believe it's November 15th is the deadline to have the superintendent evaluation submitted. So we would be looking at bringing something back at our October board meeting, and then getting that approved so that I could have it submitted out to the board a few weeks prior to the deadline to have it submitted. So that we could get it back and get it all put together. Yes, Mr. Marsh.
Is this something we can also seek guidance on from Dr. Schatz?
So
The tool we have is Dr. Schott's tool.
Yeah.
And they're gonna take it, there's no, we're serving other Class A schools because there is no standard across the state, nothing is.
no,
Yeah, that's the difficulty with it. When I was in District 1, we utilized Rocky Mountain, which 40% of it wasn't evaluated throughout the year. So how do you give a number on that? Well, you have to give a number because it's on there. So if you're not giving a number, you're unfairly saying, no, you're a 0, but it wasn't formatted to allow us to say, well, we didn't experience this year. I didn't evaluate that. I didn't witness that. I didn't see that. So it didn't give us a proper tool. So we left that. The current tool is Dr. Schatz designed in collaboration with the previous board. But I think we haven't hit the mark on what we should have
I agree
for
with
the
that.
superintendent. Yeah.
Do we want to limit ourselves to just the other Class A schools in the state, or would we think more regionally to smaller oil and gas based communities that might aggressively growing? Just on the references throughout the country, or are we just limiting our search just to the state or other Class A schools?
Dr. Jermis?
I mean, what I will say is, I mean, a lot of the things, as I've told you, I've got a great relationship with the other soups. We kind of all work in tandem, right? I mean, we have the same problems, issues,
Yeah.
right? And when I say, I know that I just received an email, because I had HR reach out. We got the Minot soups eval, the Minot, Bismarck, Mandan, Dickinson, right? The Western Class A schools, right? We're all struggling with the same challenges. So we can address the same things.
As I was just saying, wouldn't want, in case you did find information outside of that, wouldn't want to limit support here by just saying, yes, it's being. State Class A schools.
My other thing I would like to make clear is that the tool is the board's. So if we feel like what we're being provided doesn't adequately accomplish what we're trying to do, the board has the right to work through this and make it happen. You know, the goal is a fair and just evaluation for anybody within their role. And we kind of set the tone. How we're evaluating the superintendent is our policies. That's how it's done throughout the district. So we just want to make sure that we're being fair across the board. Yes, Ms.
We're in a little bit of a time crunch too. We don't have a lot of time to figure it out as to what evaluation tool we're going to use. So doing a broader search to other areas of the United States may not be the best solution right now, but it may be something to look at later.
Yeah, I perfectly agree with our planned search. I just didn't want it to be limited.
Makes sense.
So if everybody's comfortable and somebody would like to make a motion allowing the governance committee to format a tool for the board for the superintendent evaluation and allowing the superintendent to go out and find tools for us. That's what we'd be looking at.
Okay, I'll make a motion to have the governance committee formulate a new evaluation tool and to utilize resources from across the state and other districts.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Paula, do you got that? All right, any further discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Paula, when you're ready, you can call the roll.
Sluter,
Aye.
Brenner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, superintendent consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Oh, sir. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Barsh?
I'll be abstaining from the superintendent consent agenda due to the presence of the WPRD, Wilson Basin School number 7 usage group.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Paul, can you call the roll?
Brenner,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh. Oh, my apologies if I even crossed through you. Sluter,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Moving on to item 10, board consent agenda. Do we have a motion for approval?
Make a motion to approve the board consent agenda.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Barsh. Any discussion? Any discussion? Paul, could you call the roll?
Johnson,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Barsh.
Aye.
Sluter,
Aye.
Brenner,
Aye.
Swint.
Aye, motion carries. Item 11, board debrief of meeting. Mrs. Sluter, you were our third board member this time.
Yeah.
18.
It was a good meeting. It was, we covered a lot of important topics. I appreciated the presentation from Mrs. Johnson. Exciting to see what's going on inside our school, since that's the reason that we're here. Really appreciated the enrollment update. Just seeing that 7.5% increase in enrollment speaks volumes to the growth that we're undergoing as a district and why we need a new school. And just, the budget report, athletics report, just lots of good information today, and I think it just followed really well.
Thank you. Any other board members? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Do we have a second? I'm gonna give it to Mr. Marsh. All in favor?
Aye.
Those same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:34 PM. Thank you, everybody, for attending. We do appreciate your time.
Sure, thank you for the support.